Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 5 of the Dragon Radar podcast. We are your hosts, Heeroh and Ajoten. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good. Very, very good. And once again, ready to have a discussion.
I'm also ready to have a discussion, and we'll jump straight into it with our first part of the podcast, which is Roshi's rant.
This is Roshi's rant.
Okay, so this is Roshi's rant, the segment where we have selected a topic about Dragon Ball and we discuss it in detail. So, this week's topic is all about Whis. So, what do you think? What are Whis' intentions? It's pretty straightforward, pretty straight to the point. The topic this week, just what are Whis' intentions? So, do you want to start? What do you think? Is Whis secretly a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Is he plotting something behind the scenes? What do you think?
I think when we brought up this topic originally, we were going to have a chat about it. I think my first original thought is none of the above. I think he's not a bad guy, but he's not a good guy. He doesn't serve anyone really other than Zeno and Grandmaster.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, one of the earlier things we find out is that Whis does not serve Beerus. He's Beerus's teacher.
Yeah.
He's not averse to. He's knocked Beerus flat. He's knocked Beerus flat out once before when he thought he was stepping out of line. When Beerus ate the ball of wasabi, started blowing up some planets. Whis just straight up knocks him out. One of my favorite parts of Super.
He keeps him in line.
One of the only times you see Whis genuinely angry. And angry Whis is cool Whis. It's like when Piccolo grabbed his arm in Battle of the Gods, and you just know he could do something if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Although he obviously has these restrictions about being involving themselves with the mortals.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think it's a case of he has motives, but they're not bad guy motives. I think his main one was that he's got his God of Destruction, and I think he just wants a better one.
Yeah.
I think Beerus annoys him secretly. He doesn't like Beerus' laziness, and he wants a better God of Destruction. I think that's his main thing.
I read a hot take, which we won't be discussing later, but I'll discuss it now, about Whis in particular. So I'll just read it out because I thought it was interesting anyway. It says, I believe that Whis knows that his father, the Grand Priest, has an evil plan to overthrow the Omni King, and he needs fighters strong enough to help him stop his plan. And so he needs Goku and Vegeta because Beerus doesn't have the same drive to get stronger anymore, especially since he's stopped destroying planets as much as he used to. Which is interesting. Maybe the Grand Priest is the actual evil person.
The big bad.
Yeah, because you see him and he does have a disregard to life, I guess. The Grand Priest. He doesn't care when all the universes are leaving. He's literally just an announcer as if it was a show. So yeah, maybe
he does have he just doesn't care. He has quite an intimidating aura to him as well.
Yeah,
it makes him comfortable.
We've seen that even though Whis doesn't really like to get involved with the natural cause of things, he has in times stopped the destruction of the planet. Like when Frieza almost destroys it, he does rewind time and everything. So he does have a care for life that the Grand Priest doesn't. So maybe that is something. I don't know. I think it's a bit far-fetched, I feel like the Grand Priest probably isn't evil, and it's not some underlying thing that we need to be aware of or need to see coming years in advance. Because, Dragon Ball is pretty straightforward. They like to lay out who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, but you never know. It's an interesting take.
Yeah. I think I don't agree with the take in regards to that. I think the main part that I do agree with is the fact that he doesn't like Beerus, or he doesn't like Beerus as his God of Destruction. He basically, he thinks he can do better. Maybe he just thinks the universe deserves better.
Maybe, I guess.
Or to be more impactful.
Yeah.
Like his services that he's rendering are not being utilized, and he's not happy with that. Like, he very easily takes on Goku and Vegeta. And Beerus even says to him, "Are you looking to replace me?"
Yeah.
And to be honest, he doesn't really say, like, he doesn't really commit. Like, and I think he's very much looking to do that. I think he's very happy to do that, and he would do it at the drop of a hat if he could.
The thing is, it was mentioned by Supreme Kai actually when he starts talking a bit more about Whis that if Beerus was to die, or if Beerus wasn't around and there was no God of Destruction, then Whis has no function, and he basically has nothing to do. So he needs a God of Destruction to kind of mentor and be around so that he has something to do. So I think he doesn't mind Beerus, and they are friends and everything. They get along well, and I don't think Whis has a problem with Beerus. It's just he's being safe, and he wants a backup, and he wants there to be a next in line ready, just so that if something was to happen to Beerus, there's someone already there ready to step up so that Whis has something to do. He doesn't want to sit in limbo doing nothing.
I mean,
which is
we've
smart.
obviously seen that. Yeah, we've seen that it's possible. That obviously Toppo did it with Belmods. They're active God of Destruction. Top's ready to take over whenever. Whether or not they train him so Belmod could step down, or whether or not they were just wanted a backup. Obviously, they haven't gone into that really in the anime.
Is there a retirement plan in place?
Mangas, we know the manga's well ahead compared to the anime at the minute, but I think a lot of what we're focused on is the anime, because they may not stay inherently directly true to each other.
Exactly.
Things have been known to separate when it comes to mangas and animes. It's not a rare thing to happen. So I think having a backup is very. And I think the thing about Whis is that when he's looking at Beerus isn't improving himself, and everyone else is getting stronger. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where it's the whole. They say that their fight is now stronger than Gods of Destruction. Could easily become Beerus as one. They don't say who, and they say Beerus is one of the stronger ones.
Yeah.
But if they can get that strong, why can't they get Mortals get stronger?
Exactly.
And if Beerus isn't training, he's plateaued. And that's not good for Whis.
You've got to remember as well that before, well, the first time we were introduced to Beerus and Whis, Beerus had been sleeping for hundreds of years, and this is something common that Beerus does. He sleeps for hundreds of years at a time, and then usually only wakes up to destroy, and then goes back to sleep. And it's only been in Dragon Ball Super where Beerus has actually been awake to do stuff in quite a long time. So yeah, maybe Whis is bored, and that's why he's looking for someone else to train, because you never know. They could easily at any point just decide, okay, Beerus was a fun character, but let's just make him go back to sleep again. And then, because if anything, that would make sense for Beerus to go back to sleep. He has no reason to be awake, really, if he's not destroying.
I mean, what's he done recently when you think about it? He's been a babysitter at one point. He's basically sat in the bleachers during the tournament part. He's not done anything really of note.
Yeah, if
Didn't
anything,
really get involved. I'd say the last, if I can remember right, the last true thing that he did that was majorly impactful was destroy Zamazu in his timeline.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's out of character for Beerus to be awake, which is strange because in Dragon Ball Super he is only awake, really. But this is how we see him. That you've got to remember, this is out of character for Beerus. This isn't what he usually does. He wakes up, destroys, then goes back to sleep. That is what he does. Whis could. I think you're right. Whis is planning for a takeover. Well, not a takeover, but the next in line. Which is why he's training Vegeta and Goku. And I have no doubt that if both Goku and Vegeta had died at any point or were uninterested, that Whis would have probably tried to find someone else. Maybe even, I mean, I don't know if if it's common for them to go into the afterlife to try and find a replacement, but I could easily see now that Frieza has been brought back to life, we could suggest Frieza to be the next god of destruction if Goku and Vegeta weren't around.
Yeah, how nonchalant he was about bringing Frieza back to life. You're telling me that Frieza wouldn't want the power to destroy?
Exactly, yeah.
All over that.
Yeah.
The second you offer him that much power, I think the only thing that he wouldn't like is Frieza would then have to do work. Like he doesn't get to act on his own whim.
Yeah.
Basically, he would be serving someone again. He didn't like serving Beerus, but he did it. It would just be a higher tier next. Because I mean,
imagine as well, before the Saiyan saga, Frieza had never trained in his life. That was his whole thing. He was destroying planets. He took out the Saiyan race without ever training. And it took him, was it 1 month or 3 months to learn the golden transformation? I think it was just 1 month of actual training. If Whis took him under his wing to actually train Frieza, imagine how powerful he would be. Like, Frieza's already one of the most powerful people in the entire show. If he had Whis' training, he would be unstoppable, without a doubt. I think he would be stronger than Goku and Vegeta. And arguably Broly and Jiren, yeah. Frieza probably would be the strongest person. And it's weird to think that, because when you think of Frieza, you think, yeah, he is strong, obviously, but he's never mentioned in that same level as Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Jiren. You know, he's never up there.
To be the guy who's defeated.
Yeah, he's like second tier. But if he had training from Whis, he would definitely, probably beat them all, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think that's hard to argue, since he doesn't train and he's already as strong as he is.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see Ultra Instinct Frieza.
Yeah, imagine. Wow. Yeah.
But because when I was looking into this more, I was also considering what you mentioned earlier, which is thought for life, like whether or not he cares if something lives or dies. And I was thinking, does he actually care about current universe at all? And I was thinking, how do the angels feel about it? And I was looking about the Tournament Power universe, and I thought at first none of them would really care, because I remember one of the things that stuck out to me is Heeroh, who is the Universe 9 angel, when he got really angry. You saw him get notably angry when they were trying to get fighters for the tournament itself.
Yeah.
Because all that happened is they were just blowing up. They found out it was going to be the end of the world, so they just started kicking off, and he got quite annoyed. And then when his actual universe was destroyed, it focuses on him smiling, basically as if he's pleased. So I thought, did the angels just not really give a damn? But then I noticed later on, Kusu, who's Universe 10's, she's actually quite distressed when hers is deleted, basically. So I don't think it's as simple as that. However, when I think of Whis, I genuinely think that he wouldn't care that much. I don't know. I don't feel like, whilst Whis is friends with people, I don't think it would break his heart if the universe was to be removed. I wouldn't necessarily see self-serving or anything like that. I don't think he has those attachments to the universe, to Universe 7.
It was mentioned as well, like when Beerus was talking to Goku saying we need to come up with a game plan. Like, obviously Beerus is stressed out because he can't fight and it's his universe, and if his fighters don't win, he's gone as well. But when Goku's saying, well, we can't plan for opponents that we don't know, and he turns to Whis and says, oh, Whis, you must be loving this because you're fine either way. And it's like, yep, that's just one of the perks of being an angel. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't seem to care that much. Like, I mentioned it earlier. But
says, your father's the Grand Minister, so you give Daddy exactly what he wants so that he doesn't delete us. And Whis gets very annoyed by that as well.
Yeah.
Basically says, have some self-respect. So he makes no effort to try and stop it happening or anything like that. Whether or not that's just because he knows it wouldn't work, or he's just like, it's your problem, really.
Yeah.
It's not really my issue.
Because you've got to remember as well, like, the angels have been around forever, pretty much. and he's probably been through multiple gods of destruction at this point. Beerus wouldn't have been the first, and he's probably been and seen many that he's had to look after over these years, and he hasn't known Goku, Vegeta, and the gang for long, and he hasn't really been around any other Earthlings for that long either. So I think although he is friendly with them all, in the grand scheme of things, he has been around for that long that he probably doesn't care much. You're right, he won't care much if they're all gone, because he'll just start again, find a new god of destruction, and carry on his work as he was.
No. I think the only thing that would have thrown him is the fact that it made him defunct for a bit. But there'll be a way for reset. Zeno will be able to reset or something like that. Like, yeah, the universe gets deleted, but I know Zeno planned that it would get wished back. They would all come back, but I'm sure there would be a plot device somewhere that basically means that it resets the universes.
Yeah, they never
even without Beerus and Goku and everyone like that.
Yeah, they never really said what the angels would do once the universes are gone. They're just like, yeah, the universe are gone, but the angels will stay alive. They didn't say, oh well, the angels will go to another universe and be with them instead or anything. They didn't really say what the angels will do. So it's still kind of up to interpretation, I guess, what would have happened. So yeah, who knows? If Universe 7 did lose and Whis was around, would he have went to a different universe and just been their angel? Or would he have had to wait? Or wait for a new universe who needs an angel or something like that?
Like a Big Bang.
Yeah. Who knows? Or would a new universe have been created and started? And then Whis joins that? Who knows? I don't know. And that will never be answered. We'll never get an answer to that. But yeah, since Whis since all of the angels for the most part weren't too bothered if they lost, you must realize that they would have been fine. They'll have been fine. They would have done something. So yeah, who knows?
But I think the thing that we need to talk about, though, if we're going to talk about Whis, is the Broly movie. And when Gogeta finally diffused, becomes Super Saiyan God, and Whis gets to see what they can actually do together. And basically, as he sees it's about to end, it zooms in on Whis, and he has basically what looks like a plotting grin. And I think that shows that basically what he saw there is something that arguably he wants, or he has an idea of what to use.
Yeah.
I mean, if you, like, I imagine if you went up to Whis and just said, do you want Gogeta as your god of destruction? He would be all over that. Yeah.
100%. If there was a way to keep them merged.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, if you just watch the movie back and you see that, and you look at it through that type of lens, you can tell he wants something, and there's something very particular that he likes about that.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a reason. There's got to be a reason they did that. I'll be very surprised if it was just a throwaway shot because of how he looks. He's not just, oh look, they're doing well, because he does make that comment. He makes, looks like you two can work together. Yeah, he said that. So why then focus in and show that? It's always an interesting shot, and it's one of the main shots that stuck with me from the film, and it's a very impressive film, so it says something.
I think it's just the possibility of the strength that they have, like you mentioned. I think he knows that he's looking for a backup option, and the strength of him was there on show. He was doing well, and the thoughts that we could train him and he could become the next destroyer and stuff as one person, but who knows?
I think it also demonstrates to Whis how strong Saiyans in general can get. Saiyans would be the best race for this. They lose, they get stronger.
Yeah,
they just have untapped potential that's just limitless at this rate.
Yeah,
and he knows that. I don't know if he knew that in advance, because Whis has been around a long time, but at the minute, it's Cat God Destroyer, it's not Saiyan God Destroyer.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, but I guess overall, getting back to the main topic at hand, I think we're both in agreement that Whis kind of is looking for more I don't think he's trying to replace Beerus or undermine Beerus or anything. He's just preparing for
Yeah.
a scenario where Beerus isn't around. Yeah, which we both agree
I mean,
with.
that's fair.
Yeah,
I think it's just very much it's a similar Topple Belmont situation.
yeah,
They're just more open about it.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it would make sense for that to be. But I think he genuinely he doesn't care that much for Universe 7 in its entirety. He just wants that backup destroyer.
Yeah, which isn't making him a bad guy per se. You know, he's
Yeah.
still friendly. He's still around. He just, that's just who he is. He doesn't have an overall care for people as strongly
I think it's
as
just
others.
they're just his priorities, really.
Yeah.
Like he's been around long enough that his personal attachments aren't really. He puts his job first.
Yeah,
I suppose
it's his job.
It.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is his being in life. That is what he does. That is why he is what he is. So
Purpose.
yeah, it is. Yes. So I think we've talked about this long enough. Anyway, I think we've got everything out there. So we'll move on now to the Hall of Fame.
And now it is time for the Hall of Fame.
And now it is time for the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is a section of the podcast where me and Heeroh battle it out to see who's more deserving of entering it this week.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, we had our choices of who was the best minion. And you have the outcomes of that, don't you?
I do, yes. So just to recap, you chose Cyberman as the best minion. I chose Tambourine. And it had the same effect as the Android 15 versus Lord Slug of the previous episode, where people just couldn't remember who Tambourine was. So the winner and the person entering the Hall of Fame is Cyberman. Cyberman is the best minion. Apparently. I don't agree. Yeah,
Respect the vote. Respect
yeah,
the vote.
Cyberman
Democracy.
did win. Yeah, 76% of the vote. So I can't argue. But
You cannot.
I can argue, and I will argue. Tambourine is a better minion. But not for this Hall of Fame, he's not.
Yep.
Oh well.
So, for number 5, we are going to go with what is the best special move in Dragon Ball?
Yeah. And I guess since...
What is your choice?
Well, yeah, I was going to say since you won, you can go first, but I'm happy to go first if you want.
I'll go first.
All right,
first.
You go first. You go first.
Yeah. So, my personal favorite has come as a result of Super.
Oh no,
and it is,
we might have a clash here. Let's see.
It is the Hakai.
Okay, it's not. Whew, okay, we're good. Go for it.
The Hakai, I just think it's a very interesting technique, and they actually talk about it quite a lot in Super. You've got your typical Kamehamehas and Gallic Gun and everything like that, and I think the Kamehameha, whilst it has its history and everything like that, everyone does it, and it's just it takes away from it a lot.
Yeah, we should mention that before we decided, well, when we decided this category, we kind of said to each other, let's keep Kamehameha out of this, just because it is the most well-known move. You know, you see kids trying to do the Kamehameha all the time when growing up. You know, obviously it is the best special move, so we're disregarding it for this poll at least. So yeah, anyway, continue.
Yeah, but it's part of the introduction to Hakai. It's a lot of the introduction to the divine power as well. Beerus knows how to rock it. He does it so well.
Yeah.
In Battle of the Gods, the way he uses it. One of my favorite moments of Super, hands down, is when Beerus deletes Zamasu. Just how cold and efficient he is with it, and how basically the Hakai erases him. Because that's what happened with the Hakai. They don't go to other world or anything like that. The Hakai just deletes you.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And it also taps into showing you the power of a god of destruction. And also it was the case that it also allows the Saiyans to show how they are progressing, because Goku did what Goku does, and he actually managed to copy the Hakai by Beerus when he turns Super Saiyan Blue.
Hmm.
This is more in the manga. He uses it against Fused Zamasu. And there is obviously a plot device that protects him from using it, but he does successfully use it. And I just think it's a very fascinating ability, and for mortals to start wielding it as well brings in a whole other thing, because you've got Frieza who would help control the god energy.
Mm-hmm.
Toppo used it very well. It was very interesting that he was using it as well. Quite freelance with it, just throwing it left, right, and center. But
yeah,
the main
especially
reason
since
for
there
me,
was rules where you can't kill or you get disqualified.
it's
You
just
kind of forgot about
deleting
that.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think one of the strongest things about it is Beerus's ability to wield it and how he wields it.
Hmm.
It's what makes Beerus so intimidating, is that when he's doing that sort of thing, you can tell that he's god of destruction, and
Yeah.
that there's a
It's a
reason
reminder.
he was chosen to do it.
Hmm.
Because typically you just see him eating ice cream and that, but when he starts doing his job, and he starts utilizing the Hakai, he's terrifying.
Hmm.
And you see it in his animations, and the animation for the Hakai is also really cool as well. The orb surrounded by the rings.
Yeah.
I really like the animations for it. But I'm a huge fan of the Hakai. It came in quite strong.
Mhm.
And they're exploring it more and more. And now we've got, well, I'll be careful going into spoilers to not go into the manga. So I'll not follow down the path I was about to go down there. For those who may not have read the manga. But yes, that is definitely my choice, the Hakai. Not solely because of Beerus, but he's a strong proponent of it. But it's just an interesting technique that they built on. It feels to me like one of the attacks they built on most since the introduction of just ki in general. Because you've just got ki attacks, which are the general, all the other attacks in some capacity for the most part. This is one of the newer ones where it was more than that. It introduced a whole other spectrum of what attacks can be. And I just thought that was very, very cool. And the animations that follow with it are also just as cool.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the Hakai.
Yeah, I think you've got to mention as well, just that part where they brought Frieza back to life and he gets hit by it and he survives or absorbs it and takes it in himself. And it's a reminder, because it's a reintroduction of Frieza for people who might just be starting the series at Super, for new fans or whatever. It goes to show just how powerful Frieza is, that he, like, all this time we've known that the Hakai is an ender. That's it. Once it's used, you're done. And Frieza kind of absorbs it and makes it his own and takes that power and holds it. And it's like, wow, all right. Because the Hakai is built up to be such a good move. It's such a good technique. And it's like, yeah, Frieza's controlled it. That's huge. And that's half due to the fact that Frieza, it's showing the power of Frieza, and half due to the fact that Hakai is such a powerful technique that someone like Frieza has managed to control it. It's quite crazy, really.
Well, it just shows you that how, with such ease, that Beerus deletes Zamasu.
Yeah.
And then for that same power to be used on Frieza, and for Frieza to basically literally laugh it off. Like he basically does an Oscar goes to. He pretends he's in pain and everything, and he just sucks it up.
Yeah.
And he drops it on Goku, doesn't he? And Beerus has to come rescue him, which is quite hilarious.
Yeah.
But no, it's different, and I like it. It's brought something in that has a cause, so it's not just another interesting attack. There's meaning to it, and I like that, because that's part of what becoming a god of destruction is learning that and learning that divine power. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of it.
Yeah. Okay, so there would have been an awkward cut right there, but yeah, we did finish your selection, which is the Hakai, of course. And yeah, my selection is also a super move, which is interesting because, you know, Dragon Ball Z is the most popular of the Dragon Ball animes, and we've both picked a super move as the best attack, which is interesting.
No disrespect to Z, like
Yeah.
they're all
Screw
good, but
screw your key beams and everything. We don't care. Okay, they made it more interesting in Super. But my favorite technique, like mentioned, is from Super as well. It is not the Hakai, and it is from a new character who was also introduced, and it is the time skip, which is by hit.
ooh,
I
yeah.
love that technique. I think it's incredible, and it is my favorite attack in Super. And it's interesting because you find out that when you first see it, you're just like, okay, hits standing there, hands in pockets, and then all of a sudden people are collapsing because they get hit, and it's like, what's going on? What just happened? And then you find out, oh, it's a time skip, and then you learn more about it throughout the series, and you find out that he can actually only skip forward a tenth of a second at a time. He doesn't freeze time and then walk around and do all this stuff. It's actually quite in depth. Like, he freezes time, jumps to a different dimension that he creates, and jumps forward in time to the future to hit someone, and then jumps back through the dimension to the current time. Like, time doesn't stop. He jumps dimensions backwards and forwards to hit his attack, which is insane because this all happens within.
Trippy when you think about it.
Yeah, this all happens within a tenth of a second, and it's crazy. And when you think about the dimensions a bit more in depth, because obviously it is a move, his bam, his punch. But when you think about the fact he is creating a new dimension, like a pocket dimension, a pocket universe that he travels to, this is kind of similar to like the time chamber, where it's a separate universe in a way where people go to train, and it's out of the normal universe of time and stuff, because obviously 1 day in Earth time is 1 year in the hyperbolic time chamber. It's similar where this pocket universe that he is creating doesn't have time, and he skips to that to be able to jump forward. And it's crazy because who knows if he could do it for a longer period of time than just a tenth of a second. Could he just stay in this pocket universe and train? Does he have the ability to create his own hyperbolic time chamber just by using this move?
Because I think he was grateful to Goku during their bout the first time they started fighting, because he was saying that you forced me to extend it, to be able to maximize it. So
Yeah.
So he does have the capacity to extend it.
Yeah.
He obviously struggles to do so. It's very difficult for him to do.
Yeah.
But it shows that it is possible.
Yeah.
And if he kept going, how far does that reach? Like,
Yeah.
how can he just keep going forever if he wanted to? Because he created a space, created a time prison, didn't he, for Jiren? But Jiren's Jiren, and he didn't really care.
Yeah.
But he nearly managed to basically completely lock up Jiren using his these pocket dimensions, these time dimensions, which is very impressive.
Yeah, like he mentioned it himself that he is an assassin and he's never failed and never went all out with his abilities. So, even though he can jump only a tenth of a second, he's never needed to jump more than a tenth of a second. So he's never tried to have an extended period of time until he faces Goku, and then he realizes that he can go slightly longer, and he is learning as he goes during this fight with Goku, and then throughout the Tournament of Power as well. But it's crazy because I honestly think Hit could be the strongest person in Dragon Ball just because of this technique alone and the fact he hasn't fully mastered it. Like, he uses it for the best of his abilities and has never really failed with it. He takes out all his targets. He is an assassin. And in the Tournament of Power, he can't go all out because he is an assassin. He is used to killing people, and he can't in this. So it's interesting. Like, Goku has even said himself he wanted to hire an assassination attempt on himself just so that Hit goes all out. And it's interesting to me to think the possibilities of this move, because it is already incredibly powerful. So the possibilities of him learning and improving it is crazy. But I love it anyway. Anything to do with time skip and freeze and that type of thing, I love those type of moves, and I love this move.
Well, I mean, props to Hit again, because technically he was successful. He did kill Goku.
Yeah.
It was just the energy blast that kind of just saved him. If he hadn't launched that, Hit would have killed him. Successful.
Yeah.
So technically, he has successfully beaten Goku.
Yeah.
And also, he's also really smart. It's very clever. Like the fight against Dispo, in which Dispo could anticipate his time warp because he's so fast.
Yeah.
Like, Hit was smart enough to intentionally basically double it over, so he didn't know which time he was attacking and which time he wasn't.
Yeah.
So he was using the time skip, but also not attacking at the same time. So he's obviously got some adaptability when it comes to this attack as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just a static attack. He can mold it to how he wishes and how he wants to use it. And he battered Dispo.
Yeah.
Like, once he'd sussed Dispo, he absolutely battered him. And he basically had to get saved. So Hit is kind of terrifying in the way he adapts with this move. So it's a good move.
Yeah, like obviously we are talking about the best technique, and Hakai, even as I mentioned, is an ender. People die. It is it. Hakai is a finisher. But the time skip is similar in a way because everyone dies when they hit with it. Pretty much, he is an assassin. It works.
It hits them.
Yeah, like obviously. The technique as a whole does get a bit more predictable as Goku learns and as Jiren learns. They can kind of predict where he's coming from. But I guess that is fully due to the fact that Hit has never faced opponents that are as strong as them. So he's never needed to try anything different than what he's used to doing. He's usually just time skip, bam, they're dead. That's it. No one has ever done anything about it. So the fact that he is such a strong character anyway, he can easily learn and change his techniques, change his patterns to make this move unstoppable. Definitely 100%. So
and he's done it in the past, so
he has done it. He's already started to improve, like you just said with Dispo. He's changing his technique as he goes. And I guess half of this argument that I'm putting forward here for best technique is the possibilities of it. Like the Hakai, we know what it is. We know how it works. It is an ender, and that's it. The time skip move is something that can be improved in the future and is already such a cool move anyway. And you can argue similarly, Guldo has the time skip technique.
Yeah, actually, that's fair. He does.
You can actually even argue that Guldo is better at it than Hit, because Guldo can freeze time for as long as he wants, as long as he's holding his breath. So Guldo, if he masters being able to hold his breath for a minute, 2 minutes, that is much longer than the 10th of a second that Hit can do it. So, can you argue?
Just hold your breath and just stab someone. Like.
Yeah. Can you argue that Guldo's version of time skip is better than Hit's? Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
it is.
Technically, yeah. I mean, he literally held his breath, and he just stood in front of Gohan and Krillin, and he just punched them.
Yeah.
Like, he's just absolutely battered them, and there's nothing they could do.
Yeah. The only difference between Hit and Guldo is that Guldo isn't a strong fighter, and it's well known he isn't a strong fighter. He has great techniques, but he's not strong. And, he is weak, he's not smart, whereas Hit is. He is durable, he is well battle driven and stuff. He knows what he's doing, he knows how to protect himself. And he is also extremely, extremely powerful. So that 10th of a second, he can do a lot in that time. Guldo, even with maybe 30 seconds of holding his breath, if he was smart enough, he can kill people. Of course he can. And he is a big part of the Ginyu Force. And he could definitely easily kill people, but he's not smart with it, and he doesn't really know what he's doing that much. And he uses it as a way for others to help out rather than doing stuff himself with it. But you can argue Guldo's is stronger if he used it better. Yeah. But
I can't ever see him being quite as impactful as Hit.
No, I can't imagine that.
Well,
Guldo,
especially now.
Yeah. But the time skip technique as a whole, I love it. I think it's great. It has huge possibilities for the future. It's already a really powerful technique and move that is used because Hit is so strong and he knows what he's doing with it. And the future potential of it as well is great, just to see how much it can improve and get better. And yeah, I would love to see Hit go all out against Goku and Jiren. You know, if he had the ability to kill them without it being an tournament of power, I think he could. And we'll see that.
An argument for it.
You know, we might
Definitely
see that in the future. Probably not though, but I would like to.
No,
I would
I
like
think
it to come
Hit.
back to it.
Yeah, I think Hit is a character they do seem to want to keep about.
Yeah.
So I think whilst we may not see others, I think you're definitely going to see more of Hit in the future.
He is a fan
Maybe
favorite.
not Jiren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a
very
fan favorite. Yeah. So I guess that just comes with more Dragon Ball. We'll see if Hit improves it.
She's
or
always.
not. Yeah, but I guess for this
Did you have a
argument,
backup?
I did have a backup, and it's a backup not based on its strength or based on how good it is. It's just how cool I find it, I guess. And that technique is the Destructo Disc. I love it. I think it's so cool. Krillin, you know, the flying pizza coming at you. It's great. I love it. Because everyone used at that point in Dragon Ball Z, at least, always just used ki blasts. You know, there were blasts or, you know, the fiery barrage of blasts. They're all the same. No one had a disc or anything like a disc like Krillin's. You know, he changed the form of ki into his own thing that was different, and it really stands out to me, and I really like it. And the only other person to use it is Frieza. Frieza also uses the Destructo Disc.
Yeah, the dual discs.
Yeah, the dual discs. And yeah, I think it's a really cool technique. I don't think it's the best technique, which is why it was a backup.
Yeah.
But I like it.
I think
cool.
the thing is about the Destructor Disc is it's pretty much every time it's been used in a very, very interesting fashion. There was Saiyan Saga where it cut off we've had where they're trying to cut off
Vegeta's tail.
Vegeta's tail, yeah. And the double Destructo discs that ended up cutting Freezer in half.
Yeah.
Yep. And then in Super, it was used to Krillin used it to trick Goku by cutting the floor underneath him.
Yeah.
On the top of the building in the rain. To test them out.
It's obviously an extremely strong technique that can kill people. Like if it hits you, like if it square hits you in the chest or stomach, you will die. You'll be cut in half. It's an extremely powerful move. It's just not used very much, and I do like it. It's unique.
But yeah, it's been demonstrated to be very effective, so it is odd.
Yeah, Frieza basically killed himself with it.
Yeah, it seems to be one of those abilities that is kept in the background and only used as like a clutch moment.
Yeah.
Like it's just like when they can't think of anything else to do, because kind of similar to what my backup was. And this is going to be strange. It's a GT one.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, or more focused on it's the Dragon Fist.
Okay.
I see a lot of. Yeah, I do like the Dragon Fist. It's more the It's more the how it's animated more than anything else. However, yeah. But again, when it's used throughout GT, it's basically Goku's been fighting forever or whatever, and he can't quite win. So he's just like, do you know what I'll do? I'll do a Dragon Fist. Why not? And he will win.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they've used it in a few of the movies as well. From what I remember, Goku on Super Saiyan 3 using the Dragon Fist. It's been a cool technique, and I guess you can call the original one in OG Dragon Ball. Yeah, where he Dragon Fists straight through the chest of Demon King Piccolo. Although I don't know if that technically counts as one, but it is the same thing. He punches.
But, I mean, every time you see the animation afterwards, it is basically a callback, and I think it's very intentionally a callback.
Yeah,
the way he always explodes through them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a callback to that original attack. The time he beat the big bad for the proper first time.
Yeah.
And I think, so it's definitely a callback, but you see it most in GT quite a lot. I actually looked it up, and it's just because when GT do it, they go all out with the animation. You've got the actual Shenron turning up and everything, and it just looks really good.
Yeah.
I couldn't decide between that and Special Beam Cannon. But again, I think I'd set more on Hakai because my other choices were just how good they looked. More than
Yeah,
anything
I
else.
mean, that was the same with me. I love the time skip, and I just thought the Destructo disc was pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, it's basically coolness was for the other two.
So yeah, I guess we both kind of went down the same route. Actual strong technique that we like, and then just a cool technique as a backup.
I think this one could be the closest Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think it'll be
They're
really
both-
close. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it
I
could
think they're
easily
both
be
incredibly
50-50.
cool moves.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to come down a lot to who prefers Beerus and who prefers Hit.
Yeah,
Basically.
definitely. I agree completely. This will be the closest Hall of Fame yet. And if you want to get involved, follow the socials down below. You know, we have polls, and you'll be able to vote and see what technique you prefer out of the two, and the winner will be inducted into next week's Hall of Fame. So get voting, get following the socials, vote in the polls, and we'll find out next week who enters the Hall of Fame. Will it be Hit's time skip or Beerus's Hakai? We shall see. But right now, let's move on to the hot take.
Hot take.
Okay, so this is the hot take, the segment of the podcast where I have deep dived into the internet to find something mysterious that someone has wrote about Dragon Ball, and we will discuss and see if we agree with it or disagree. So I searched online and found this take by a person, and this is it now. So this person has said, the Saiyans are the most boring race in Dragon Ball. They are strong and their hair changes colour, but apart from that, that's kinda it. Frieza also gets stronger and changes colour, or form completely, as do most other villains in the series, like Cell. He also gets stronger and changes form. Boo also changes form and gets stronger as he goes. Some races have unique abilities and styles to make them stand out, such as Namekians and the Angels, or even the Ardrats for having instant transmission as a technique and makes them stand out and be different from everyone else. Saiyans don't look different to humans, apart from a tail, which even in Dragon Ball, the main two Saiyans, Goku and Vegeta, don't have anymore, and the hybrid Saiyans, such as Gohan, Trunks, and Goten, also don't have tails, so that doesn't even make them stand out. So yeah. What do you think? Do you think the Saiyans are the most boring race in Dragon Ball?
No.
No.
I mean, there's so much more to Saiyans than that. I think that's glossing over a lot of stuff. I mean, they give a very rich history to the Saiyans by explaining like who they are, what their plan, like what their purpose is, how they've been basically enslaved. Like it's not just about physical attributes. Like that doesn't really. Loads of shows have things where it's like things look like other things.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really mean whether or not something's interesting. Like Dracula looks like a human being. Does that mean Dracula and vampires aren't interesting? Like it's like just because it looks similar doesn't mean it's boring. The saying there's a lot to them in terms of obviously you've got the saying that they've got tails or haven't got tails, but when they use those tails, what happens to them?
Yeah.
They become giant killer apes. Like that's a hell of a transformation.
It is.
And they don't just change their hair color. You could argue the whole Super Saiyan 3, how they basically evolve as they transform. So they do actually physically change. There is a physiological change.
Yeah.
They have the ability of when they are defeated, they come back stronger. So that's something inherently different to humans.
As long as they don't completely die. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But it just basically it gives them an interesting mechanic, and it's because that person was talking about physiological differences. Well, that's one there, and that makes the scenes very, very different. And it's the sort of thing that allows Vegeta. They use it loads in the Frieza saga, especially Krillin blasting Vegeta to death nigh on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I don't get that take at all. I really don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, I mean, for argument's sake, this guy has specifically taken out, apart from the coloured hair, fact out of it. And if you argue it that way and say all of these different forms that show up, like Super Saiyan, the Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, Ultra Instinct, if they didn't change the color of the person's hair and the hair just stays black throughout the entire series, would they be less interesting? And to be honest, I think in a way, yeah, because there is no real way to separate these forms apart from the color of the hair and the fact that they do get stronger or faster with them. But if they were all just the same color hair, it's like you can't really differentiate between them. So I think this guy does have a point where they could be boring, but also I do disagree with it overall. I do disagree. I don't think they're boring. Like you mentioned, they do have the transformation into great apes, which is unique to them, even though it isn't done much throughout the show, and it's not done at all anymore. It was all done in Dragon Ball Z, and that was it really. And I can't.
GT.
Yeah, I can't see them bringing it back in Super with anyone else. Even the other universe Saiyans, I can't see them turning into a great ape at any point.
That would have been interesting in the Tournament of Power, like.
It would have been, but there was no moon. So
well, that didn't stop Vegeta though, did it?
That's true, actually. Yeah, Piccolo made an artificial moon out of a Ki Blast, so for Gohan to transform. So yeah.
Because although the Universe 6 ones can't, they haven't got tails, have they?
No, but Broly does. If Broly turned into a great ape, what would happen there?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't think it's. But the thing is, you have to remember, obviously, that it's a visual medium when you're watching animation, so there has to be some indicator to a person. I think the only time it's been where they've actually used that quite well is showing that when Goku was fighting Frieza the first time, how he basically points out he's been in Kaioken the entire time and he's barely keeping up.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time where they've not shown it directly that he's in some form of transformation, but they do that for all the other races as well.
Yeah.
When they power up, they get some type of aura around them. It happens to the Namekians, happens to everybody. It's a visual medium and they have to represent that somehow.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
One thing I was just thinking there, which it's honestly, it's probably me just forgetting what happens, but Gohan has a tail and it's removed. What happens to Trunks and Goten's tails? Are they ever mentioned?
Literally as you said it, yeah.
Because Gohan is born with a tail, but I can't remember them ever mentioning what happens to Goten and Trunks' tails because they don't have them. So what happened? Did they get removed, or were they not born with them? Like, what happened? I don't know if it's ever explained. If I'm just forgetting.
I can't remember them talking about that.
Yeah, like
you'd think Vegeta would ask his son at some point.
Yeah, maybe
even future Trunks, like, where's your tail?
Yeah, maybe it's mentioned in the manga or something. Or maybe I'm just forgetting if they mention it in the show. But I can't remember them mentioning ever why Trunks and Goten don't have tails. Like, did they just decide to remove them when they were born so that there was no chance of them turning into a great ape?
Because they directly address it in Super. Vegeta asks Cabba where is his tail.
Yeah.
And Cabba says, what tail?
Yeah. So we know the other universes aren't born with them, but
So it's obviously that Vegeta's aware of Saiyans having tails, and it doesn't seem to me that he's ever addressed it with Trunks.
Yeah.
Future Trunks.
Because we know that Gohan was born with one. So was Trunks and Goten also born with one? Or is it like potluck since they're half human, half Saiyan? Is it like there's a chance they might be born with a tail, but also they might not?
Like hereditary baldness.
Hereditary tail. Hereditary tail, who knows? It could be. Like, I can't remember it being explained.
I can't remember it being mentioned. I think if they have covered it, either we're just both forgetting or it's been covered in the manga.
Yeah. But yeah,
anyone in the comments, if they know, please let us know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to research either way.
So we can know. Maybe we're just being a bit useless. Might be worth just going on Reddit.
Yeah,
Reddit usually has the answer.
Yeah,
it's often wrong, but there's usually an answer.
Yeah, we'll see. But getting back to Saiyans being boring, no, I don't agree. And they do have a lot of techniques that that other races don't have. Like we know that Saiyans are extremely good at learning new techniques, which other races don't seem to have. Like Goku learns the Kamehameha. Every technique that Goku uses is what he has learned from someone else. He doesn't have any of his own techniques. He's taught how to use the Kaioken, he's taught how to use the Spirit Bomb, he's taught how to use the Kamehameha, which are his three main moves, I guess.
I mentioned earlier he stole Beerus's Hakai.
Yeah, he's still a guy. Yeah,
yeah, and basically it was theorized that the reason he could do that is the fact that he basically watched Beerus do it.
Yeah,
and took it.
Like, I don't feel like the Saiyans need to stand out by the way they look. Like, it's fine that they look like humans. That's fine. I understand that it's okay for them to look like that, because there isn't really too many main characters that are humans, I guess. So to have a couple of Saiyans in there who also look like them, that's fine. They don't need to. But
I think it would also be very odd to be quite jarring to have the first two. Why would Gohan and that exist if they look so different to humans? It would be a bit jarring to know that aliens and humans had like commingled.
Yeah, I think
that would be quite visually jarring. I think, and I think people wouldn't be able to get past that.
Yeah, I think the main reason why they look like humans is because in original Dragon Ball, at the time of creating the show, Saiyans weren't a thing. It was never planned for Goku to be a different race. It was just known that Goku was a monkey boy. He was a Earth boy with a tail who had incredible power, and that was kind of it. That was the mystique of Goku. He was unique by having a tail, but he wasn't unique by being an alien or anything. That wasn't really a thing. That was retroactively put into Dragon Ball Z, where it said, oh, he came to Earth in a space pod, and that was it. But in the original Dragon Ball, he was just an Earth kid, I guess, with a tail. He grew up in the woods with Grandpa Gohan, but as far as anyone knew, he wasn't an alien. He wasn't a Saiyan. He was just an Earth kid with a tail.
I mean, he existed before even Dragon Ball, didn't he? I believe, in just general animation. Like, he wasn't actually Son Goku of Dragon Ball. I believe Toriyama had him previously animated.
Yeah, Toriyama took inspiration from the tail.
Son Goku, isn't it? Yeah,
I don't think it was specifically Son Goku, but he took heavy inspiration from, I think it was A Journey to the West. I think that's what it's called, where the main character is a monkey boy. And that's where the inspiration of Goku came from. Yeah.
No, you're right. He was not originally an alien. That's literally come as a result of Z.
Yeah. So they can't change how Saiyans look because they've already established Goku as looking human, and if he is an alien, which they made him be, they've got to make the aliens also look human. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and he's still with Chi-Chi and everything like that. So
yeah,
basically, they can't change any of that. Really, you would have to have a human-looking son because he's with Chi-Chi.
Yeah. Like we know that they age slower. But apart from that, they're still fine the way they are. And that makes them slightly unique and not so boring. They age slow. That's cool, I guess.
Hair never changes.
Yeah, the hair never changes. Well, for full Saiyans, half Saiyans, not so much. Yeah, I think Saiyans are cool.
Another thing that we are ignoring is Super Saiyan God. Now, it takes 5 pure-hearted Saiyans, is that right?
Yeah, well, just 5 Saiyans,
yeah. And to make that transformation, and that shows that it's not just a power-up. I mean, yes, it is later. They do understand divinity better, and they can do that later. But for that to happen the first time, you have to have those Saiyans, and they have to do the ritual together. luckily Pan was there. Well, not there, almost there.
Plot device. Yeah.
Yeah, Vidal. But I thought that was a nice touch, by the way. I thought it was quite cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, like things like that, like that to me is very interesting. That's not just a transformation. That's something they all had to come together to do.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, he got angry and his hair turned yellow," because that's not what happened.
Yeah.
Well, it is what happened, but not on that occasion.
Yeah. So I understand where this guy's coming from, saying they're boring, but also because, especially if you take out the rainbow hair colors, but also I do disagree. They do have their own unique abilities and forms and things they can do that no other character can do. I'm gonna have to disagree with this take.
Yeah, I think the take, basically, they've glossed over a lot of things. They've either not done a lot of research and they've just kind of fired something off the cuff.
Yeah.
Or they've intentionally ignored a lot of things as well. No, I disagree with the take.
Yeah. So we're both in agreement. This isn't a good take. Saiyans aren't boring. They are cool.
Yeah. Which is a shame, because we've had a couple of good takes, haven't we?
Yeah, we have had some good takes.
One. So it's a bit disappointing that it would come down to one that's so very no.
Yeah, but it's still been a good discussion anyway, to kind of argue the point why Saiyans are cool and unique anyway. Which is the whole point in this segment. You know, we argue. Sometimes we are going to have hot takes where we do disagree, and you know, as long as there is a conversation to be had, then it's done its job. And
very true.
We have argued the case of Saiyans being cool and unique. So yeah, we do disagree.
Although you have to admit we're a little bit biased, being Dragon Ball fans. But
well, this guy must also be a Dragon Ball fan. Otherwise, why would he even have the take to begin with? But yeah, we both disagree, and I think it's time to wrap up the podcast. Been a good one.
It has been a very good one.
It has been a good one. There's been a lot of stuff we've discussed, and yeah, we'll be back again next week for episode 6. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it up, subscribe down below. Don't forget to check out our socials, you know, vote on the polls for the Hall of Fame. And other than that, we'll be back next time. So yeah, see you next time.
See you next week.